Obviously, I'll be recording this. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Lore Runner, or just Runner, as you can see here. I've got Mr. Reloaded up here, up top, as usual. He is the number one dude, the number top dog guy. And today we'll be talking about Enterprise Season 1. And I guess I'll shut up now, because that's my turn. I'm done. That's my thing. I'm good.
I hit the stream button, but you never know with these things. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. That's the excitement that is YouTube that adds to stuff. But assuming that it is working, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. I, of course, have Lore Runner on here with me, the most excellent and high. He is going to be hanging out as we do another rewrite. We'll be doing episode 3 and 4. No, I'm sorry, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know why I'm stuck on 3 and 4, man.
Probably because the way they structure it is 3 is the second episode because of paperwork.
Right, exactly.
There we go. I got your chat up. So.
Episode 2, 3, and 4 will take some time for some people to get here, of course. And yeah, we'll just be going through it, marking it down. Sorry, it's been a little delayed. We've had things come up with the holidays and everything.
It's my fault. I'll admit it. It's all on me.
It's a GDQ thing.
It is. If I wasn't streaming GDQ right now. Yeah, anybody wondering why this isn't live on my channel, it's because my channel is currently rehosting GDQ. This is the only week that'll be... Well, this might happen in July, assuming we're still doing these in July, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be doing these for a while, aren't we? Especially if we're doing it like 2 episodes at a time.
I mean, I hope so, but I mean, that's more up to you than it is up to me.
You'll cancel on me, watch. It's going to happen.
I'm going to be like, you know what, Mr. Reload, I'm just too big for you. I hate you.
That'll happen.
And your pathetic puniness.
So, we'll be taking a look at episode number 2 first, which... let me go ahead and pull that up. Intriguingly, there's on some of these, we've agreed that we're not going to change too much, that we're not going to do a whole lot with it, because it's, at least for the first season, it's really well done. So the episode 2, you kind of want to give a guide on what was going on with episode 2?
I do, but the first thing I want to say, and I've actually been planning for this whole time, by pure evil circumstance. So, some of you may or may not be aware that while the GDQ stuff happens, I work on pre-recorded stuff, and by total coincidence, this week I'm working on my Enterprise videos. I'm currently in Season 2. So, one of the episodes I just covered, and I was telling Mr. Reloaded about this, is Ceasefire, a great episode overall between the Andorians and the Vulcans. And the whole episode, and I don't just mean like narratively and thematically with the conflict between the two powers, is all about what I've been mentally calling the home sector, right? Sector 001 and the local problems, right? Now, the reason I'm bringing this up here is because that episode should not have been mid-season 2. Because it's immediately surrounded by... Like, Enterprise can't make up its mind if it wants to be dealing with homebound issues, which it does periodically, or we're exploring the unknown, which they do the other half of the time, right? So what I wanted to bring up to you, and to the wonderful, amazing, incredible viewers at home, is should we focus on exploration or home issues basically first, or at the same time? Should we try to do a mix of the two?
I would say a mix of the two, but kind of like an 80-20 thing. So the way I was looking at it, and the way the first few episodes are really portraying it, is that they want to be explorers. They're just not really good at it, because they're still having to deal with home issues and with not understanding where they are and what they're doing. And that's kind of where I would put it, because we discussed, I don't know how much we did live, but I know at least season 3 and season 4, we have our ideas for what we're doing. I don't know how much into season 2 that we discussed. I'll have to go back and look at that sheet.
By memory, very little. It's kind of our blank sheet of paper right now, by memory. Because we've got 3 pretty locked in, and we've got 4 very locked in.
Yeah, and so where was it? The bare bones rewrite. Let me pull that up. I mean, and that's... Season 1 would be them getting their bearings, them being... having to deal with the home front. And then season 2 would be the actual exploration. I would push a little bit into... I'm not sure if we want to put it onto season 1 or do it as part of the exploration, but... the Andorian and Vulcan confrontation probably needs to heat up somewhere,
Oh,
either towards the
absolutely.
end of season 1 or season 2. I like that. I like the thought and the way they did it, where the humans come in and they just mess everything up. Like there's an uncomfortable piece. Things have a way. There is a way things are done, and then the humans just come in and they just start messing because they think that they should. They think that they
That's the
can.
look. That's our job. We're trying to. Now the funny thing is, you say that, and I agree with you completely. But I also think that is in the end the correct thing to do, not because it's like inherently our job to police the world, but because the way I want this. Now this is kind of leaning a little headcanny, but again, I just watched this episode today, so this is fresh in my mind. Forgive me. They mentioned that this particular dispute, the one that's in Ceasefire, has been circling the drain for a century, right? And they mentioned several other things related to that. And what it boils down to is nobody's been doing anything for over 100 years within the home sector, not because they need humans to show them the way or whatever like that, but because Sengoku Jedi, because all of them are so focused on each other and so focused on staying alive and keeping the enemy off balance and being worried about every other power all at the same time, nobody's really moving forward or innovating or whatever, right?
Right.
And it's something that's emphasized many times in that episode in very small little tidbits of dialogue, which is I love extensively. Chris Black wrote that episode, does a good job with it. But I mention that because I like that idea. Not that humans are the great saviors of whoever, but they're the third guy, right? By sheer virtue of being the new kids on the block, they help things change. And I don't know, I like that idea. I like that idea.
Well, and one of the interesting pieces about storytelling, especially this more works with individual characters, but I think you can put it onto species too, depending on how you write it. Uh, One of the greatest ways to tell a good story is to take the greatest part of a character, their one great advantage or their one great characteristic, and make it toxic in a way, make it actually hurt them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to overcome what is their greatest advantage. And so you can actually do that with the humans, as we've seen with Star Trek. Generally, humans like to explore. They like to get just beyond that next, rock or asteroid or whatnot. And that's a part of what's been driving all of this. So I think that using that and doing them moving forward and getting in everyone's business kind of uses their greatest asset against them, and it'll actually tie into future series when that becomes how Starfleet prospers.
I'm actually completely with you on this. And to show the other side of things really quick, in the aforementioned Ceasefire, the humans showed up and were, plonk in terms of that whole episode. But it's worth noting the humans didn't solve that episode. The Andorians and Vulcans did.
Right.
And that's another thing that ties into what you're just talking about. The humans, in this case, were the external force, but they were not actually what fixed things. They simply happened to be there to shove other people into fixing things, which is also something I think is very Trek.
Right. So yeah, I like it. I think that's what we need to do. I'm right there with you.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
So that brings us back to the original question. If we want to focus on story or exploration, I like the idea of doing both. I like the idea of bouncing back and forth a little bit. It's not like we can't do both in alongside each other. Like an episode that's all about, trying to figure out what's going on with these people could also include a B plot about trying to understand this new bacteria, or Hoshi trying to understand why she's even on this stupid ship. We could have an episode all about, God, what is this strange new pod we just found? And there's some unusualness in here. And in the background, T'Pol's getting reports and constant. Like, it gotten to the point where someone's like, T'Pol, like I can imagine Hoshi walking up to T'Pol and saying, T'Pol, you haven't checked your inbox in 3 days. There's like, some ridiculous amount, like 75 messages in there or something like that. And T'Pol's like, I'm well aware. And just little background stuff showing, how much she's being bothered by the folks back home, by high command, and just little things like that, right? So I think we could do both effectively, as long as we mixed it up properly.
By the way, Laughable Larry, no, thank you for everything, sir. Thank you. And then we could again tie it in where it comes to bite them, because it'd be interesting. We do all this build up, And we forgot to do the primer. We'll need to do the primer in a second. We do all this build up, and then finally they get to a point when they're ready. But because of everything that's been happening, because of the reports that T'Pol has been sending out, they're Vulcan and whatnot try to stunt them. So when they're actually ready, we now have conflict where they're being held back at that point. And I think that would bring in that would make T'Pol kind of a central figure where her and Archer have to work together to bring everything back into focus.
No, I agree.
That could interestingly tie into, I think we could have an instance, and this is talking meta, but I think we could have points where the United Earth wants to push farther than the Enterprise should go, or than the UE should go, but Vulcan wants to pull back too much, and so now both of them have to work together with their respective governments to make it work. Where Vulcan's not all wrong, but they're being too overprotective, and the United Earth isn't all wrong, but they still want to go too far with things too.
No, I get the general idea. I'm admittedly just thinking of specifics because I do like the general concept, the general arc there.
Well, while you're thinking through that, guys, just so you know, this is a rewrite. We're doing it for the entirety of all of Star Trek. We are Babylon 5ing this as if we were going to write everything, save for any disco era Trek stuff. So while he's continuing to consider how to put those together, a couple of things to let you know about this universe. In this universe, there are a couple of constants that happened in the OG that we have changed. For instance, transporters require both an entrance and an exit point for them to work 100% or for them to work completely right. So you need two different transporter pads. If you don't do that, if you have one transporter pad and they transport somewhere randomly, you got like a 1 in 2 shot of dying, 50%, 70% chance of dying. It's a huge deal. Now, in TNG and later, when they're using those fancy little tripods that I always forget what they're called, enhancers, that will increase it. So instead of a 60% chance of death, you might have a 30% chance of death. But the only way to ensure that you don't die is to have two transporter pads themselves. Of course, universal translators don't instantly know what someone is talking or saying. It takes time for them to figure it out. The Prime Directive is the original series version. It's pragmatic. It is not what Picard would want. Picard would be a very sad boy if he had to listen to it. He couldn't watch entire planets die for absolutely no reason.
I'm sorry, I saw your video of that. What was that, yesterday or the day before? Oh my god. That's that episode. I mean, my episode on that just went live like last week, and what else do I need to add to that?
Well, what happened with that, interestingly, though, is because I watch most every video you put out, and I think the algorithm caught on to that, and so it. I saw a video that said Picard stands by the Prime Directive or something like that. And I was like, ooh, and then it actually showed me the scene, because I mean, I listened to you do it, but listening to you do it and then actually watching the scene, I was like, this.
Oh yeah, no, it's horrific. It's horrific.
Uses the word honor. Let's honor these people. I mean, it's just horrible. It's like, this baby is dying from a fire, and I got this from my September, I know, but there's a car on fire and this baby is dying. We should stand back and honor this moment.
Yep. Let's watch them die and not help ever, because there's a piece of paper that says we shouldn't do it.
Can you think of how traumatic that would be?
Oh my god.
What if you were forced to do that? Like, you could...
that's torture.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is actually a horror movie right there. I'm not actually being facetious. That is the plot of a horror movie. All right, I'm going to wipe out the life on that planet, and you're going to watch. And that's just...
You're surrounded by technology that would save them, but you're not allowed to. It's you could save them. It would be barely an inconvenience for you. So anyway, with replicators, certain things can be replicated, but not everything. Also, replicators work in a little bit of a different way. They're like little nanobots that put things together. It's just not an instant energy transfer. God, I'm feeling off today. You can tell. I haven't had any kind of drugs or alcohol or anything. Holodecks, same power.
I was going to make a drug joke. I'm sorry.
I know, I haven't though, but I feel like I'm slurring my words and everything. I haven't, nothing.
Or I'll get drunk for both of us. I got water here, so that'll be enough.
The holodeck has the same power source as the ship.
Because we have a brain.
Yeah. And they don't malfunction as much, I think we were saying. They don't
Oh
have as
God,
many
no.
malfunctions.
I mean, there's a purpose behind the holodeck malfunction story, but we should probably only pull that trigger once, maybe. Even that is debatable, because that's a cliche that has left Star Trek's confines at this point.
Klingon honor is that found in undiscovered country. You can actually be honorable no matter what you do as long as it makes the Empire better. Consoles don't explode, the area explodes, and they don't have rocks. Time travel can't. Time travel doesn't exist in the 22nd, 23rd, or 24th century. By that I mean you can't actually time travel in those centuries. You have to be from a far more advanced century to do it, and it's a big deal if it's done. You can't just jump in your what is it, Constitution class vessel.
No, no, no. The Burrell class Bird of Prey.
Well, and then they just did it just as a lark. They did it as a lark on the Enterprise. The Enterprise could do it whenever. They had the right mixture now. So, Yep. Anyway, so we got those out of the way. Should have been done at the beginning, but anyway. So, yeah, fight or flight.
So what I'm thinking, I've been thinking about your concept, and I feel like I remembered what we were going to do with season 2. And we were going to do the temporal Cold War in season 2.
Okay. Did we write that down in our thing?
Probably not. But I was thinking about it logically because we both wanted to do the Romulan War in season 4. And
now, here's are you on the sheet?
I am not.
Why aren't you on the sheet?
Well, because I'm playing Metroid.
Well, you don't need to be playing no Metroid.
Yes, I do, dude. You know what I'm like when I don't have my games in my head. I can't. Just
go to it real quick.
Let me pause. Where I do actually have the sheet saved now, so I don't have to ask you for the thing every time. Enterprise, fledgling Starfleet, Temporal War. Xindi Arc is season 2. So there you go. Although I noticed it's in season 1 as well. I didn't look at it, or I didn't say it out loud. And then, yeah, Romulan, I'm right, season 4. So, yeah, what I'm thinking... So we could... So, okay. This is a new idea. I'll admit that. But there's a thing, if you're typing to be on Discord, I don't have Discord up.
I'm not typing to you on Discord.
There's, so I just covered, an episode of Enterprise that I already can't think of the name of. That's how impacting that episode was. It was incredible. Where is it? Season 2, episode 16, Future Tense, right? You're probably thinking, Runner, what are you doing? Shut up. And I'm like, okay, hang on, I'll shut up in just a second. But before I do, in that episode, it's the episode they introduced the Tholians. Chronologically, our first Tholian episode, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I was looking into the behind the scenes of that episode, like, why Tholians, why here? And then I, watched the episode, and it's like, this is leading into the Xindi arc. Which confused me, for obvious reasons, right?
Right.
So I looked into it a little bit more, and it turns out, and this is, I want to add a big asterisk to this, because this is what I would call unconfirmed, but it looks like they wanted to actually do the Xindi arc with the Tholians. It was going to be the Tholian arc.
Okay.
And basically have the Tholians be the Force instead of the Xindi, and probably not even have the Sphere Builders, just have the Tholians. And the more I thought about that, the more I liked it, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
So... And this is going to tie into season 1, Fight or Flight, in just a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you want there to be a war with the Tholians with no sphere builder. We'd have to rethink the Cold War.
Well, I mean, the Tholians were supposed to be part of the Cold War. In fact, they are on Star Trek Online, if you remember.
So you still want to have the Cold War just with the Tholians and no sphere builder. Oh, is it going to have the stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. There's a little bit of offline stuff. I think we need to talk about that, but I don't hate it.
It's not super relevant right now. It's just I wanted to toss that idea at you, so it's at least in your eyes.
Superbats doesn't like it, though.
I know. It's okay. Nobody likes my story ideas. I've come to accept that in my life now. So having now established that, okay, fight or flight. So what I would have is instead of encountering random alien 576, who is never explained, by the way, they never actually elaborate who that is, despite the fact that they've got to be like 5 feet out in interstellar terms outside of, Earth. For some reason, they've never heard of these people before, neither of the Vulcans. Sure, I'd buy that. I would make it Tholian. That's the tie-in. I would make it like not an actual Tholian ship, something they sent out, like one of their equivalent of their Voyager probe, and they sent it out bajillions of years ago, and it's just a very early tip of that, but it also helps to showcase something which is important about the Tholian equation, which is that they are ahead of us on the tech curve.
Okay.
And that's the way that they are threatening, basically, is that they have slightly better tech and slightly better ships, as is demonstrated by many other works I'm not going to go into right now.
And unfortunately, I watched the wrong 2 episodes, but in this one, in Fight or Flight, did the new weapons actually defeat?
Yeah.
So if we were going to do that, I would have it rewrite where the new weapons caused them pause, but maybe not ultimately defeated them, I think.
So, okay, so this is why I kept emphasizing, or at least emphasized once out loud and like 15 times in my head, about why I would make it like a probe. The idea would be a Tholian ship would crush them, right? But a Tholian probe from years ago, well, we could build up to the point where we are able to defeat that. Like, I mean, this is admittedly video game design is what I'm going off of here. But that's the idea. You build up to the point where you could defeat the early level thing, and then that allows you to get to the point where you can build up to the point where you can defeat anything else, right?
So would we have to Paul point out that it looks like it's Tholian, but it looks like it's and that would just add salt to their wound. It's older technology.
No, yeah, I would actually have her mention that, and at one point, like I could just see Archer or whatever just glaring, like this is some kind of 50-year-old probe, and just because like right after the big celebration scene, you know, like, oh, we did it, we actually took the thing out. This is you realize this is just my old Pinto, guys, right? So that's the general direction. And now, I mentioned Hoshi. Now, this is already a Hoshi episode. 1 of 3. I pointed out all 3 earlier.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sorry, 4. I'm actually miscounting there. That's my bad. 1 of 4. And 2 of those are B-plot episodes, as we discussed earlier. I was actually able to name them, by the way, guys. I'm not going to do it right now. It's just... that's how infrequent Hoshi is in the show. So I'm down with focusing on Hoshi. In fact, I'm so down with focusing on Hoshi, I would actually make a decent chunk of the plot trying to figure out how Tholians communicate. In the actual episode with the Tholians from Season 2 that I was just referencing, there's this bit where T'Pol mentions how they barely know anything about the Tholians, right? They know they exist, and that's about it. I'd keep that general idea. Keep the idea that the Vulcans are in the dark on this, and they just keep them at arm's length, just like all the other races, like we've already established. But Hoshi would be like, this is like a puzzle. This is a brilliant puzzle. Oh god, that I really want to figure out how they communicate with that high pitched. Remember the screeching noise they do, if you can picture right now. And so have her going through trying to figure out how to actually process all of the noises and sounds the ship is making. And the whole time she's freaked out, of course, because she's not space-bound, and so she's having issues with that. Not in a ha-ha, she's a coward kind of a way. More in a, this is a terrifying situation kind of a way.
Right.
There we go. And yeah, I agree, Vulcans are not really particularly exploratory like humans, so it would make sense that the Vulcans would say, well, that's a danger, and then just walk away from it.
Yeah, they're so not exploratory that they send ships in all directions, have all kinds of technology dedicated to sensors and land.
Exactly. See, I'm glad you understand this.
Have warp drive. They're so not exploratory. Yeah, I like that we're doing something with Hoshi as well, because it's so disheartening to like think about how progressive Trek is, and then see that they put minorities on set to have minorities on set, and then use the white people to do everything. It's very lackluster, some might say.
I'm going to be real. It's going to be a lot harder to make stuff for Travis, because Travis is such a non-character that there's nothing there to work with. We're going to be inventing a character for Travis. We'll be writing a new character.
He's the pilot, too. That's the thing.
He's the pilot.
That's
it. And unlike Tom Paris, he has no character because they didn't write one for him.
Right.
Anyways.
The difference in... Yeah, you don't like to get into that stuff. We're not live on yours, but you'll be uploading this. I'm just saying.
Well, no, I agree with you. It is ridiculous. Comparing those two side by side is ridiculous. But anyways, getting back to the point. So let's make this a Hoshi-centric episode. And so the threat of the week, background. Make that the B-plot. Make them trying to deal with this probe and the danger of the probe more of a side plot thing. Something that's just, as you have said many, many times, emphasizing how astonishingly unready they are for all of this. Right. And in fact, I kind of like the idea. Hoshi and T'Pol have several moments in the actual show, and I've talked so many times about the idea of connecting points between characters and how important those are. I like the idea of crafting a point between Hoshi and T'Pol, just like a pseudo-professional, semi-antagonistic, but mostly friendly point between the two. And so I like the idea that the two of them end up kind of working on this one, and it is T'Pol who ends up, supporting her and is like, here, let me go ahead and give you some of our Vulcan database stuff because, you might actually be... Well, no. See, okay, I'm talking ahead. I'm jumping ahead in the story. I shouldn't do that. What I would actually do is that T'Pol is like, the Vulcans have already failed at trying to communicate. The Vulcan High Command has already deemed it unfit. There we go. Let's put it that way. Deemed it unfit to communicate with the Tholian Assembly. And Hoshi's like, I think I could do it. And T'Pol's like, it is your time to waste. However, we are in a bit of a circumstance here. I think your resources would be better put elsewhere. And basically over the course of the episode, T'Pol is at the point where she's like, maybe I'll give you some information and some backing and some support. And Hoshi's able to use the additional information that T'Pol gives her as a reference point in order to help start figuring out the frickin' Tholian language. This is also when they find out that it's a probe that they've been fighting this whole time.
Yeah, and we could also have it where T'Pol gains a little bit of respect for her and then tries to take it back to her superiors who are just like, no, you must be misunderstanding or something happened. Like, just not even going to listen to it. And just give her a taste of how she might be wrong and how the Vulcans are looking at it, but don't change her mind completely.
I'm completely with you that absolutely, because the whole idea is that I don't want T'Pol to change her mind in one episode. Trek does that too often as is, right. But I do want to put that first block in the Tetris that we're building here. I want there to be that first little step of High Command was proven wrong, and T'Pol will just shrug it off, but it needs to be there for future episodes.
Right. Yeah.
So hang on. Hang on, Lisa Garrison's asked me a question. I'm trying to diagnose it because I'm an idiot. Towards the end with the Hoshi story, I get your game skill building, but towards the end for the character, I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Where is it? Who is it?
Lisa Garrison in your chat. I do have his chat up here.
Hoshi story, like I get your game skill building analogy, but towards what's the ending? What's the end goal for the character? I think is what she's asking.
I don't know, because you're right. We're gonna have to invent one because there isn't one. Thoughts?
I mean, we could make her the pioneer of communication and diplomacy, ultimately, if we wanted to go that route. We could have her maybe overthrow the captain in the most powerful ship that's ever been created.
And become Empress of the humans. I love it!
Of the humans. We could do that, too.
So, okay. If I can quote myself for just a second here. One of the things I talked about during a Skyrim stream, of all things, just bear with me, was how too many writers think that with A backstory, or X backstory, it always is going to have Y result, right? Mm-hmm. Their parents died tragically, therefore, Batman, right? Mm-hmm. That is 100% not true, and I feel that's very limiting as a writer. In my opinion, people react to stimuli differently. I know, shocking hot take there. And so it's down to choice. What do we want to do with it? And that's really the question. I'm asking chat this too. I do have chat up right now. Where would we want to end up with Hoshi? Because we could end up wherever with her. We could have her be one of the founding members of Starfleet Intelligence. And I mean that sincerely. That's actually the first thing that came to my mind, for example. We could have her be on the cusp of developing the diplomatic corps and really trying to understand, not just communicate with in terms of putting letters on a page, but actual, real communication with others, actual understanding, actual comprehension of other races, which would then lead to the eventual fabric of the Federation. We could have her die. We could have her decide to quit and go home. And maybe have, like, the camera shift, because I love camera shifts, right? We could have the camera shift back to Earth periodically and follow what Hoshi's up to back there, and she could then be a perspective character for events that happen back on Earth, like, when the Tholians attack Florida with a giant death weapon.
Right. Well, the interesting piece too, I think, is and what would fit in is giving every character like it's kind of cliche, it's kind of kitsch, but giving every character an aspect that's going to really shine in Starfleet kind of then justifies what we see in future Star Trek, where it seems to be like a humans club that they have to get around to a degree. Because if you notice, a lot of the stuff is done by humans. Humans save the day or are just so superly awesome that they have great impacts to it.
Hmm.
So if we wanted to do that, we could, again, make her like the head of the diplomat corps or stuff based off of the diplomat corps. Because if we have the humans save the day and create the Federation, which is effectively what's going to happen ultimately, happens in OG as well, then it would make sense that humans are what's most represented, right?
Hmm. So, let me just make sure I'm getting this correctly. It sounds like you want her to be this wonderful, amazing, peaceful envoy of a brilliant future that then turns into what is effectively a tool of species-wide oppression. Did I get that right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it would make sense, especially.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
Dude, look at your. I would never say this, but I do want to share one quick thing. Hold on.
Do I need to pull up Discord?
You do need to pull up.
I guess I could do it. I'm not actually streaming right now. Discord plus stream equals no.
Yeah. Anyway, because I'm a horrible person.
Hang on. It takes so long to load.
I'm technically not wrong. That's all I'm saying. All right. Anyway, we'll continue on.
Anyways, okay, I'm leaving Discord now.
Yeah,
We're no longer on Discord. We're done. We're done.
You just lost respect for me.
Yep, no. Who's the guys? I've decided not to plug Mr. Reloader anymore. Don't watch his show. Don't watch his streams. Do not hit that like button. Don't hit that subscribe button. Don't comment. Don't give him money.
I think making her the head of the diplomatic envoy, or at least what the Starfleet core of diplomats is going to do, would be a great idea. If you want to make her intelligence, I could see that too. But what we were talking about beforehand was her being a great diplomat, her being the connection between the ship and whoever they're talking with. That would be a part of her job. She would almost be essential in literally almost every episode.
Oh yeah, no, we would have to, and the catch is we would have to A, not always do this on camera because that would get old, but B, we would have to effectively write her into almost every episode. Now, I think we could do that. It would take work.
Right.
It would take effort. It would take some actual care and craft. But I do think we could make her critical. After all, the Star Trek makes people critical to those kind of jobs. I mean, how many times does the captain personally involve in an away mission, right? It's not that hard to do.
Right.
So yeah, I'm absolutely with that idea. So if we want to go, now this is another thing, a little bit of writing advice here, 101. There's nothing wrong with doing the typical thing. There's nothing wrong with going the cliched route. And I want to point that out because I feel that too many writers, and I've given advice for this many times over the years, so many times writers get themselves caught in the idea of, oh, I can't do that, it's too predictable, or it's too easy, or it's too typical, or whatever. Don't get stuck in that mindset. There's nothing wrong with trying something different, but there's also nothing wrong with trying something typical, like making Hoshi the diplomatic corps, because that really is the obvious choice, and I agree, it is a legitimately easy and good choice for those.
Well, and it doesn't always have to be one-dimensional either. I mean, she could help out intelligence as well. I mean, she could, we could pull her into Section 31 at some instance, or if we decide to still use Section 31 with Malcolm or whatever, she could inadvertently be helping Section 31 and helping to bring Section 31 along, especially if we evolved his. Instead of just one episode, oh, look, I'm Section 31 now. Oh, my God. We could have him be doing stuff or working with her, especially with different projects, specifically to trying to decipher different codes or things like that, and do it in a way where she doesn't immediately realize what's going on.
Oh, God damn it. Not you. Actually, I kind of like the idea, and okay, maybe this is just me being me, but I kind of like the idea of Hoshi effectively joining the diplomatic corps of Section 31, right? And so she's part of it, but she's not there to be underhanded or dirty or whatever. She's there to help people understand and figure out and be like, okay, look, they have this cultural perspective on this, and there's this tree which she really loves, and because of that, they're thinking this direction. They're like, oh, that's why there's this misunderstanding. Because remember, intelligence doesn't necessarily mean spying on the other side. It means understanding, and she could be a valuable asset for such a thing. I mean, I'm just speaking personally, but if I was a head of intelligence, I would love to have someone like Hoshi on my team.
Something we could do, I don't know, this is kind of out of left field though, is the way we have Section 31 infest and make sure that it always has a strong power base within the Federation, is to have Section 31 impact or somehow use every person on the Enterprise. And then if Enterprise, they become the proto parts of Starfleet, then Section 31 already has its tendrils well in there.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, if they use Hoshi, they now have a step within the diplomatic corps. If Malcolm becomes Starfleet tactical in some way, then they have their they have their foot in Starfleet tactical. When we create a role for the pilot, whose name I forget.
Travis.
Mayweather. Then, the pilot corps or whatever. And then, maybe the cooks, because they're going to have cooks and stuff. So.
Okay, maybe we're going a bit too far with it, but I actually like that idea overall. No, I really do.
I'm just saying.
I think that... So, okay, I'm not saying that I secretly run the world, but if I was involved in Section 31, the first Warp 5 capable vessel, the first NX ship, at a critical moment politically, when the galaxy is an extremely unstable place, I would have every single finger on that ship I possibly could. I would have every in on there,
Right.
I would do everything in my power to make sure that I have at least some, if nothing else, for support as they deal with things that they're not prepared for. Hint, hint.
Yeah. And, I would... Some of them would know, but not everyone. I wouldn't have everyone knowing about Section 31.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't either. Ooh.
So I would still... they would help out in their own way, not knowing, but I wouldn't have everyone.
I would probably limit it to mainly the main characters, which is also effectively the main staff, and probably not even all of them. Obviously T'Pol wouldn't be one of them. Well, let me walk that back. She would be on the board, but as in something we could debate. Meanwhile, Falkenstein is trying very hard to...
It'd be later, Falken.
Yeah. T'Pol would be later. Absolutely.
Yeah, because they wouldn't instantly trust her, because they wouldn't instantly like the Vulcans.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Vaughn's okay. He doesn't usually...
Yeah, he's having some issues. You okay there, buddy? I do agree with something von Falkenstein said earlier, and that's that Section 31 should not always be underhanded dealings. I firmly stand by that idea, and I'm down with that,
Maybe because I read Hoshi as autistic, but I think a storyline could be found in her having people storyline with T'Pol, but not Section 30. I never read her as autistic. Did you?
I mean, I don't know how to even identify that, so I'm going to go with no on that.
Okay. Well, there can be social traits, and it's not a negative thing. There can be social traits and stuff.
No, I know. It's just I am ignorant, so I can't speak to something I know nothing of.
Okay. I don't think she's ever given any indication that she's like that. So, I don't know. I've never seen that. I'd be interested why you think that. Nate's good people. I don't think he's being negative.
Oh, I sincerely doubt that's a big comment, but I do agree that I love the idea of T'Pol and Hoshi connecting. I absolutely agree. We should build a character line between those two characters.
All right, so we did the...
So Fight or Flight, Tholian Scout. It's a Hoshi-centric episode. We get the very first bits of T'Pol and her, just like the very first cracks between her and High Command. Right. And as well as building that connecting point that I was just talking about and that Nate was just talking about between Hoshi and T'Pol. We don't have to go past that. I think that's plenty of meat for an episode.
Right, I agree.
So that brings us to...
Strange New World.
Which we have to do barely anything for. We could just run through this one.
Strange New World was really well done. There would just be little changes, I think, more towards the storyline we want to do with T'Pol being more insistent, and then T'Pol sending it to Starfleet. For those who haven't watched or need a refresher, Ultimately, they come upon this M-class planet that apparently, and you can go into your thoughts on why it's there, what's going on there, but they come upon this M-class planet that they have no idea what's going on with it. No one knows about it. No one's been there. Doesn't seem to be claimed. T'Pol states that they should probably do some scans and make sure that everything is safe. Archer tells her to shut up because this is his ship, and so he goes down there and lets his dog run around.
And then the dog dies from a horrible. Oh wait, that's the wrong episode.
He takes Tucker's hand, and you see him skipping down, putting roses in each other's hair. It gets kind of weird there. They then lose track of time, just staring at each other, and go back.
And then that's when the raunchy sex scene happens, right there.
T'Pol walks up, and it's a helicopter. It's Mayweather, Tucker, and Archer having a helicopter contest. You should definitely look that up.
So anyways, I'm going to go and interrupt you at some point here.
I said it was a raunchy sex fest, so
I'm just saying, we don't have to go past that. We don't need to go into details. This isn't Sub Rosa.
There's an apple in the middle, and there's going to see who hits it first. Anyway,
all right, so
T'Pol suggests. Hold on, let me finish. T'Pol suggests that they stay down there, and ultimately, there's something in the air that makes them go crazy. It's like a drug. And one of the most horrific reasons why you never want to transport up in that era happens.
Yep, I actually like. So okay, no, hear me out for a second. So if you remember, anybody who hasn't seen that episode recently, there's this bit where they do beam someone up in the middle of a storm, which is actually really stupid for many reasons, even just in universe, but let's ignore that for the moment. And they beam him up with chunks of plant throughout him. Now, we only see it in his skin, but it's implied he's very planty. And so, he has to actually undergo surgery. Now, side note, in the original script, he died from that. Yeah. Now, there was actually pushback on that. I'll be talking about this because that's like April, so you'll hear my thoughts about this in April on a completely different webcam and a completely different set. But anyways, and they didn't want to do the red shirt thing. They were actively pushing against the red shirt thing. Credit where credit is due. I like that. And I've mentioned this before. The first first crew member of Enterprise who dies in season 3 during the Xindi arc, which I'm with that. So anyways, I think he should die in our version of the thing, but not because, oh my god, it's an accident, or because I think he should die because they used the transporter. This would be the Enterprise establishment of why they don't do that, right? Now, I'm willing to be talked down on this because that's still stupid and it's a terrible idea, and I can explain why if I have to. But if we're gonna have the transporter scene in, he's dead.
Yeah, your audio changed a little bit. I don't know if that's on my side or not, but just it's still okay. It just shifted a little bit. So I am okay with him dying for a couple of reasons, and I think it should be emphasized that this was a death that didn't have to happen if he had listened to people. Mm-hmm. I would want him to die from the stuff happening inside, like, again, having all the rocks and everything within him, or we can have it be the drug. It doesn't matter, either or. But I would put a line in there where it's like, can't you do it? Can't you, help him? Why would the transporter do this? Something like that. And then someone say, maybe the doctor or maybe T'Pol, say, we just transported him. It's lucky that we got this, because doing it without that is dangerous. He should have died within the transport. So this is the best case scenario for him.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, if we do kill him, I would say this is a time when the transporter was successful.
Yeah.
He got the 30%, or actually 10%, I guess, at this era. But yeah, he rolled the dice and got lucky. It's just, well, he's dead.
Yeah, he got lucky, if you were, in the best case scenario.
It goes downhill from here, is what I'm trying to say. Having said all that, let me explain why I think that's really stupid. Because why my idea is stupid. Yeah, yours. I'm with yours. I would never call you stupid, sir. At least not legitimately. Because I think Enterprise shouldn't even have a transporter, especially not for Episode 3. I think I think we should make an arc of that. I think that should be a thing across multiple episodes where Starfleet is pushing. We want transporters. We want the transporter pads. Vulcans have them, right? They have that. They have their tech, and they have them. And Starfleet's like, are we not military allies? Are we not in this together? And that's one of the contention points. I think this is too early to do that, is kind of a point.
Okay. Would you still have him teleported then, or what?
Well, see, that's the interesting thing, because at that point, we could do whatever we want with him. He could never be found, or they could go down and get him with the shuttle, and he still dies from the poison or whatever. Speaking of which, I know you just watched this episode, so you know this, but for your viewers at home who haven't watched that episode lately, it's... when it comes to writing, and many times you want a specific thing to happen, right? You want an outcome. And so in this case, you don't know how to make it happen properly. And so what you do is you just make up a dumb reason for it to happen. I call this because plot. So in the actual episode, and I'm curious if this bothers you as much as it does me, Mr. Reloaded. In the actual episode, they fly down, and they're like, okay, it's a little bumpy. All right, no problem. And they make it all the way down to the point where they are in spitting distance. Excuse me, let me not be hyperbolic. They could literally throw a rock and hit the shuttle. That's how close they are. And that's when they give up. It's too dangerous to land now that we're below most of the actual dangerous winds. Oh no, we've got to go back up and use the transporter. What?
I was thinking that too. I was like, if you get that far down, just throw a rope.
Yeah, seriously. You're right there. Anybody will tell you that the winds get more dangerous further up, not further down, unless they're a very specific type of storm, which we're going to assume that this isn't. So here's my thought. They go down, they land, they grab his ass, they pull him back up, and we can have him live or die. It doesn't actually matter to me. But, it is important that they get him back up, because this is then when the medical doctor, who is not Phlox, will look over this and be like, And that leads to the thing we're going to be talking about in a minute here.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I might keep the transporter, though, is just have them talk about it. In fact, we could have made it a point in the first episode, or make it a point in this episode, where they're really excited about their transporter. That they're not going to use it yet. They're still just using it for biologicals, non-sentient biologicals or whatever. But it's supposed to be so much more advanced than that of the Vulcans. And then it's not.
Then it's crap.
Yeah.
I admit that appeals to my cynicism.
And then it's very much not. And then in that case, we could have it where, all the stuff being implanted in them is something that never would have happened with an actual transporter, with an actual Vulcan transporter, right? Mm-hmm. That it would have been able to distinguish the difference between a rock and human flesh.
Yeah, I get you. It's so they've oh god, I can see it, but I can't explain it.
And then they've scrap it.
They've shortcutted. Yeah. They've shortcutted the programming to track and reutilize matter. Just matter, but they haven't, and they figure that's actually going to be sufficient, but like any programmer will tell you, no. They needed to do a few more checksums on that one. They needed to actually QA that one a little bit more. And so, yeah, like you say, it beams him up and also that, and so... No, I still don't like the idea. I still think they shouldn't have a transporter this early. Let's walk back on the transporter thing for just a second. Because we actually have an interesting choice with the transporters, in Enterprise specifically. Because we can decide when they show up and how, from whom, however we want to. Mm-hmm. We could have there be no transporters in all of Enterprise. We could have it be a new thing in TOS, We could have it be that it's a natural technology that most races have. It's just varying levels of advancement. We could have it be that it was a specialized thing of insert race here, and then it kind of spread from there. Like, we have options, is what I'm trying to say here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think keeping transporters there, if we don't want the humans to have it, I'm not going to fight that too much. Its existence at the moment, though, is something that just adds to what the humans don't have or don't know how to use effectively. Mm-hmm. If we're going to go that route, I like that the Vulcans are so much more advanced, that they have tractor beams, they have shields, they have transporters. So I wouldn't remove it completely, but I'm not going to fight too much on having it with the humans. It could be something we'd introduce, maybe make it a key function of the Tholian War, if we're going to go that route. When they bring the Makos on, they finally bring on, the transporters as well. Like, that's a part of the refit. Which we could actually do what they wanted to do in Enterprise and have the refit make it look more like the Enterprise, make it look like the
Constitution?
Constitution class.
Yeah. I'm kind of liking that idea. Have it be part of the season 2 refit. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Nate had a suggestion. They could have the person nearly die from the beam up and have a minor story arc where the recovery is really awful, subvert the red shirt trope, and have the crew scared of the transporter from the gore. I mean, we might not have the transporter. We could have where it hits them mentally, though, where it does have an impact there.
Actually, I do like the idea, though, of the recovery arc. We would just move that later to when they have the transporter. Make that something in the Tholian arc or the Xindi arc, whatever we decide for that. Because that's a good idea. I like that.
So you and I are called lore daddies now.
Lord.
I've been having a bad day today. Now I'm glad I can spend some time just turning my brain off and listening to a couple of lore daddies chat.
Damn right. Hang on. Let me think of the worst dad joke I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, God. See, I can't do dad jokes off the top of my head.
Don't worry. Your lore daddies are here for you.
We got you, buddy. We got you, fam.
We got you. Just close your eyes and listen to your lore daddies.
Don't do that. It's
All
terrifying. Because at this point, it's what we want. We really have a bit of an open door, or a blank sheet of paper, as I like to say, with the transporters, and we could do a lot of different methods there. And I'm torn.
Okay.
I'm torn, and so how would I do this? Okay, so I've got a thought, and you could tell me how terrible and awful this is. You remember how we established how ridiculous the Borg transporter tech was? Remember that?
Yeah.
What if we... I hate to repeat a trick, but what if we effectively do something similar here? Like, so transporters aren't... So instead of the Borg having the good transporters, it's insert race here introduces the concept entirely. Like, I'm with the Vulcans being more advanced. I am absolutely down for that. And hell, that's always been my mental headcanon, regardless of other circumstances, probably because of Spock. But the only question mark there is which race. Like, who do we make be the race that invented the transporter, other than humans, obviously?
Well, I don't know that we'd have them invent it. I think the Vulcans should be the big kid on the block. The way I would do it is I would have the Vulcans be the big kids on the block, like we saw beforehand.
I have an idea.
The Andorians might be a step below them, but have always just given them a lot of issues, and that's always been the two big battles, and that's why Earth comes between.
Okay, so I'm with you in every way, shape, and form. Let me add one little asterisk to that. What if transporter tech actually originated from the Romulans?
And they gave it to the Vulcans?
Gave might be a bit of a hard word, but something I've been talking about a lot is how the Romulans are so... This is pure headcanon until Season 4. But there's a lot of internecine conflicts between the races in Sector 001 in an early Enterprise that really feels provoked to me. Now, it isn't. I know this because I know the behind the scenes. I've read the interviews. I know the intention. The Romulan thing wasn't even intended yet. It was something that came out of at the last minute. But it's like the Section 31 thing. You know, it fits so beautifully, even though it was never intended to. I love the idea that the Romulans have been throwing pebbles, basically, right? Just little things to try and provoke and ensure that there's technological disparity and that no one faction gets too much of an edge over the other factions, so none of them unify, and thus none of them threaten the Romulan Star Empire.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
So, in short, we do have the Vulcans who have the tech, but it kind of, like, either as a collaboration or whatever, but it was something that was basically provoked by the Romulans. Maybe even literally just in the sense of, you should continue researching this, and the Vulcans then, with Romulan, unknown Romulan prompting, then invented the transporters on their own. This then leads to a massive power disparity, because picture the Andorian perspective here. Just actually picture it for a moment. Oh my god, those pointy-eared devils, they have the ability to just make bombs show up on our ships without even being within light years of us. They could just do that. Well, can they transport matter? They wouldn't need to transport troops down. And thus, the Andorian High Command is less likely to trust the Vulcan High Command. And you see it, right? You see where this is going.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even... So, two things. First off, I don't hate... I know you don't like that. I think that's a good idea. I would, in fact, even probably write it to where the Romulans ensured Vulcan High Command got to where it is because of all the tech that they provided them. Mm-hmm. And I would say that they did it on both sides. I would possibly even write it to where transporter tech, the Andorians were able to steal transporter tech thanks to the Romulans. They ensured.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Of course, they made it look like the Andorians did it, and the Andorians, just can't be trusted. But really, the Romulans ensured they could get it. The other thing is, and Maisie brought this up, she said, I think it's worth keeping the transport tech as human invention, their major tech contribution. I never interpreted Enterprise to say that the humans had the technology, that they created the technology. They had the inventor of the transporter, but I always assumed that was for the humans. Like everybody created their own thing, Mm-hmm. Because there have been instances in the real world where people create basically the same object. It's just there was a different inventor and someone did it first, So mm-hmm. I always interpreted that as he was the inventor of the transporter tech for humans. It wasn't a human-first technology.
And yeah, someone earlier mentioned that episode too. I wasn't ignoring that. It's just, considering we're rewriting how transporters exist on a setting level, episodes that are big on transporters will obviously have some restructuring.
Right. So I'm just saying, it's interesting that, Maisie pointed out that it was a human-only or a human invention. I never even really looked at it like that, personally. So that's an interesting way of looking at it.
It is always interesting, and I mean this with sincerity, how we disagree on Star Trek. I like it.
Yeah.
At least as long as we're being...
No,
that's never even occurred to me, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when I saw that, I just thought it was, that's for the humans. But I guess you could look at it and say humans created it based on the dialogue. That's interesting.
It's worth noting I haven't covered that episode yet, so I don't have it completely fresh in my memory. I'm still in season 2, guys. Give me a break. I can only record so fast.
Drinking game, shots. You take a shot if Lore says I don't hate it. I don't hate it means I like it. I don't know why it upsets our boy over here, but it is.
It's just when I was a child, there was a violent I don't hate it, which killed my parents. And every time you say that, I'm reminded of it.
He had no Lore Daddy. Lore Daddies didn't exist.
It's true. I had to invent it, but I actually stole it from the Romulans.
He had to become the Lore Daddy. Oh God! All right. So then, was there anything else
Yeah. So Strange New World. We haven't actually moved on. Or sorry, it's not Strange. Is it Strange New Worlds?
It is Strange New Worlds. Yeah.
Okay. So Strange New Worlds. So
that's really interesting, given the thing that came out. I wonder if there's a connection there.
I don't know. That's why I keep hesitating on that one.
Yeah, I just realized that. That's interesting. Anyway.
All right. So, why is there this Class M planet next door to Earth? Remember, they are right, this is episode 3. They are not far out from Earth. This is not way out in the middle of nowhere. Why is there a Class M planet right here? Now, I'm going to leave that question there because I do want to hear your guys' answers. Because, as with all good writing, in my opinion, most good writing is prompted by questions, just like that one. Why is it there? Right? What is it? So, what do you think? What's the explanation? I came up with a couple myself. Mr. Reloaded came up with one. We came up with one, which I kind of like, actually. But what do you guys think? Why is there this Class M planet right next door that they haven't done anything with ever?
And so now we're going to wait 30 seconds.
Yep, now we got to wait. It's okay. I'm playing Metroid, so I got stuff to do. While we're doing this, though, I do want to say shout-outs and gratitude to Lord Reloaded. Thank you very much for the support. Oh, wait, you didn't donate. Sorry.
I donated. I wanted you to do Pharaoh. I gave you money to do Pharaoh, sir. And you said,
no.
You'll do Cave of Cud. That makes absolutely no sense.
Listen, Cave of Cud is less bad of a game than Pharaoh.
You know what I love? So there's a reviewer that I watch, and he's off the walls. He's not for everybody. He's a troll reviewer. And every time he comes out with a new new review of a game, because he does old games, that's all he does. Mm-hmm. I donate to you to do a review.
Oh my
And
god.
some of your audience has realized what I'm doing. So that means some of your audience watches a troll reviewer.
That doesn't surprise me. They get the real reviews from me, and then they get their yucks from him.
So this
Because
guy, while we're waiting for them, what he does is he plays a character on the internet, and there's I forget there's a military commander that did a big huge PR stunt or whatever, so there's a ton of pictures of him. He's an African military commander, and he pretends he uses that as his avatar.
Oh gosh.
So when he introduces himself, he's like, hey guys, Seth here, and it's this military commander like from Africa that like fights wars and protects people every day, is just in a hellish landscape. He'll have him on tanks or on different stuff. Oh man, it's horrible.
I didn't realize he was Steve Rogers. Good lord.
Yeah, exactly. It's Steve Rogers. You know that. Well, there is a civilization of humanoids living at Alpha Centauri, and we didn't know it.
No, they're dead. We killed them.
Close. They say it's simply a plot point, plot convenience. It was a mistake.
All right, so yes, I am a lore uncle, by the way. So let me go ahead and jump in with a couple of other ideas here.
Sometimes he doesn't have to be your lore daddy. He can be your lore uncle.
I will kill you. So
it's just whatever you need.
There's pain in your future, sir. I just want you to be aware of this.
Do you need a daddy or do you need an uncle?
Oh my god. So now that I've killed Mr. Reloaded, what the hell was I talking about? That actually distracted me. Right. So one of the plot arcs that I'm really big on, and Mr. Reloaded just referenced it, is Andorians and Vulcans. And I like the idea of going ahead and kind of emphasizing that even early on. Now again, you'll notice we're barely changing the episode. We don't need to. The episode as is functions quite well. It's going to be the episode about them going down and finding the planet, and there's the gas, they learn about trusting each other, yada frickin' yada, right? We're not changing any of that. But I like the explanation in the background being the fact that this planet is relatively close to the Andorian-Vulcan border. And so both sides have just been kind of like, and are just sort of leaving it alone. Now, having said that, Mr. Reloaded came up with another idea, which I actually really liked. And so this is taking it a little bit more, and this is the kind of thing that we would never explain on camera per se, and we would never explain it in this episode. But the behind-the-scenes idea would be that this planet was originally, again, both sides were, laying their claims to it, like two hostile factions tend to do, because it was an M-class planet, and the Vulcan High Command were working on this gas, and the intention wasn't to deploy it villainously, to be clear about this. This is a pragmatic political move. Okay, there is a hostile force, they're right there. We need to be ready and capable of dealing with them if needs be, and we want to do so in a relatively, non-horrible method because we are Vulcans. We're not evil, so we're going to do this logically. We're going to do this, politely, kind of a polite gassing sort of a thing. And they came up with this super gas, which is the stuff that's actually affecting them in the episode. Unfortunately, for reasons that we could decide, and I liked Mr. Reloaded's idea here, on why exactly it didn't work all that well. But the long and the short of it is it didn't work out all that well. And so they ended up abandoning the planet. This, of course, in episode could be kind of explained, or excuse me, out of episode, could kind of explain why it is that the Andorians, despite effectively having a free pass here, never really actually bothered to try and claim it because, well, they might have, and then it's like, oh wow, there's this crap on the planet, and the Vulcans would be like, here's our release on this horrible gas. it's native to the planet. It's very toxic. We do not recommend you land on the planet. And the Andorians confirm it, like, yeah, okay, there's this toxic gas. Okay, fine. But yeah, you see the idea here, von Falkenstein. This is why this was abandoned, was because it was affecting the Vulcans and it wasn't supposed to. Now it affects them less. If you remember the episode, T'Pol is resistant, but she is not immune. Hence the idea that, they finally walked away from this. Now, none of this, again, would be in the episode proper. My personal preferred way... Exactly, Elisa Garrison. My personal preferred way to exposit upon this would be in a future episode, probably directly from Mr. Shran. We would have a bit where there would be like a commentary, like maybe something's coming up and someone mentions chemical warfare or whatever, or maybe it would come up in natural conversation in a future episode, and from an Andorian, that Andorian would mention, well, there was this issue with this gas we encountered briefly. It caused us a few issues and a few hallucinogens, but it never really went away. We always assumed it was a Vulcan ploy, but we were never able to prove it.
Right. And maybe we cut it out, but weren't we going to have the doctor say something like, just think it's odd?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. When they bring
episode,
it up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that episode, it would just be a one-liner, but he would just think it's odd given the different reactions and stuff that we saw.
Yeah, yeah. And so he would be like, this seems weird. What is weird about it? Well, I'm not sure. The phenome and the biome and the tech and okay, I don't know the terminology, guys. Just don't crucify me here. But yeah, he would say something that an actual medical doctor would say. We would consult consultants on that, and he would be like, "This be weird, yo. We need to figure out what's so weird about this, etc., etc."
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of it for changes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're running pretty late, even for us. We were going to for that there was no real changes.
Yeah, the only change is the behind the scenes stuff, which actually comes up in a future episode.
Right.
And just changing around a couple of character moments. That's really it.
Yeah, and then we were going to completely eject Unexpected and probably just rewrite an episode that makes more sense, or just not have an episode, because Unexpected is probably the worst Enterprise episode and in the top 5 of episodes ever, worst episodes ever, at least for that subject matter. It doesn't really fit the biomes. That would be enough, I think.
See, the problem is, if it doesn't fit the biomes, then that's too easy. Because then the Andorians would have figured it out forever ago. Right. It would need to be something a little bit more insidious. And yes, this be weird, yo, is actually going to go in the finalized script.
So yeah, you can imagine Shran actually saying that, this pink skin, this be weird, yo.
I can actually picture Jeffrey Combs saying that.
Do you see my tweet about that?
Which one?
Someone did a really good joke when it came to, because I kind of see where they're coming from on it, but it's funny regardless. Here, I'll share it with you real quick.
Where are you sharing it?
I'll share it in Discord real quick. It'll just take me a second to find it. Good, sir. But it's because, and I'll just say it for everyone who's watching. If you're on my Twitter, you saw it, twitter.com/lore reloaded. But it has Shran sitting there looking all smug and stuff, looking happy. He's like, pink skin. And then it has Travis, and then the only other African-American crew member, I think, in all of the NX-01 Enterprise, looking at him like he's crazy. I don't care if you're not interested. You're going to love it.
I'm waiting for the link. I've got Discord up.
I just shared it, buddy.
Oh, there you pink skin. You realize...
It's like, what did he just say?
You realize... I know you're blue, die, but... Come on, man.
Anyway.
So yeah, so we don't have to do Unexpected today, but I do... So part of the reason I wanted to share this on camera is I like the idea, because this is exactly what I would do if I was doing this, without Mr. Reloaded and you guys and you awesome people here. I would give myself gimmies when it comes to episodes. And those episodes, those are just getting rewritten. Just ground up. There's maybe an attempt to keep some of the bare bones elements of the original episode / movie in there. But otherwise, no, this is now a blank sheet of paper where we can insert whatever in. And that's not just because the episodes are bad, although that is part of the reason. The main actual reason there is because we're going to need it to help flesh out the things that we're adding to the canon, right?
Yeah, we talked about this, and I don't think I don't think that it's exclusive or anything. The only thing I really wanted to do was to also try to challenge us to do it in a way where we would be under some of the same circumstances as the actual writers. And I don't think that's an issue here, but like if there had been a push for the executives, they're like, hey, look, we have to write this really horrific premise, okay? We want to make it where we justify it and have people laughing at victims, and you have to do that or we're going to fire all of you. Like,
And then we walk off the set and we go on and make another show. It's called Star Blek, and it carries out immediately after the last episode of Star Trek. It's weird. And so it's going to star Jonathan Arche. He's French. Played by Scott Bakula. Anyway, sorry. I wasn't against that. I just think that's a separate challenge. That's really all it is. It's such a different mentality that I think it's a separate challenge. That was my point there.
No, but I don't think that's an issue here anyway. That was the only counter, not the counter, but the only other thing I was saying. By the way, Jessie Gender actually is a welcome guest on here. She's just been pretty busy, so hasn't been able to come on. She's been on the last, well, not the last one, but before that, she's been on every one of them. This is like the fifth one.
She was in the last one. She was here for the initial Enterprise one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is the only one she hasn't been on, actually. So
yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I think we'll eject that one. We'll probably come back and do the rewrite for it at a later point. But was there anything else we wanted to add or not?
I mean, we could just pause there. I'm good. So I was talking to Mr. Reloaded here. This was a while ago, and he was like, "All right, let's do a season per thing." And I understand why he was saying that, but I was like, "Are we really in a hurry on this?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, I mean, we could do it episode by episode if we really want to. I mean, or maybe arc by arc. You know, we could play it by ear." And so, yeah, we're kind of taking our time with this, guys. And if you guys like this, please feel free to give both of us feedback. Mostly him, in the terms of money. Give him money. He needs it so badly. He's so destitute. Just the other day, I saw him out on the street panhandling, and I'm like, dude, I gave him a burger.
Yeah. It's like, what is it? Toss a coin to your lore daddy?
Mm-hmm. Not me. I'm not a lore daddy. I'm a lore uncle.
You know what that's from? I just realized. Oh, my God. Wasn't that what we called him in our original D&D thing?
We're never talking about that again. All right, so...
Lore daddy. I didn't even realize that until...
Yeah, no, I caught that immediately. That's why I didn't reference it.
I did not. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
All the more worse.
Oh, my God, dude. Anyways, point being, if you like that idea of us really doing this kind of episode-by-episode thing, please comment, share, subscribe, give money, do all the things that you people do. I wouldn't know. I don't give him any money.
I don't think he realized that. He doesn't. He actually takes money from me all the time. He beats me up for it. Oh, man, that's funny.
I'm a lot bigger than him, so I can do that. That's how that works. The larger person automatically wins. That's what fiction has taught me.
And he's got, what is it? You got your...
I have Frostmourne right... Oh, you can't quite see it. Hang on. There it is. Right there. Right behind me.
Don't make me go get, whatever that one is. That Final Fantasy.
Buster. It's the Buster sword.
Yeah, and you got the... It wasn't Frostmourne that I was talking about. It's the whale.
Oh, yeah, Dive. He's right there. He's a killer whale, and he's got a killer appetite.
Oh, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded and Lore Runner.
Speaking of which, on my side, obviously, I'm just recording for the sake of the VOD. Do feel free to respond on the comments of this VOD or just message me during streams. You guys know I stream 60 hours a week, so there's plenty of time to catch me there. And let me know what you think of this whole idea. Feel free to share comments. I know we've got in the Discord channel, specifically, there's a Star Trek Rewrite Project thing. I have been reading your guys' comments on there, so don't think I'm not. And I've been taking into account consideration and thoughts from your guys' ideas. It's just you guys are jumping the gun a little bit for me. You guys are talking about stuff like from Season 4, and it's like, guys, we're back in TNG. Either way, I will be seeing you guys, I don't know when, because I'm going to be working in Enterprise all week. So peace.